Last year, post Fajr, we looked at 40 ahadith on the excellency of the Holy Quran. And this year, inshallah, we will look at some traditions on the excellency and high esteem of the noble Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This comes from a book penned by Izzuddin ibn Abdus Salam. His son mentions that once I asked my father to relate to me some reasons why the Prophet ﷺ has been preferred over others by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Izzuddin ibn Abdus Salam immediately started to mention a hadith pertaining to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam over the rest of the creation. Many of these hadith we may have heard before, so inshallah it will be a good reminder for us and beneficial inshallah. So we're going to go straight into the book without the introductions, as that was the introduction. That we're looking at the lofty and high esteem of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in relation to how he alayhi salatu wassalam has been preferred to others by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Izzuddin mentions, rahimahullah, Allah exalted as he says to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, out of generosity to him and appraising us to his worth to him, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down the book and wisdom on you and taught you what you did not know. Allah's favor to you is indeed immense. Allah Rabbul Izzati wal Jalal has favored some messengers over others. He says, we favored some over these messengers over others. Allah spoke directly to some of them and raised some of them in rank. The first favor clearly speaks about the very basis of favor, and the second lies in the multiplication of favor by rank. The word rank in the verse is left indefinite to indicate greatness, and so it means we raise some of them to tremendous ranks. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favored our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in various ways. The first, he is the master of all mankind. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I am the master of the children of Adam, and it is no boast. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the master, is whoever is characterized by sublime attributes and luminous qualities of character. This hadith is recorded by Imam Muslim rahimahullah in a longer hadith, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions certain favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed over the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of them being, Ana Sayyidu Wuldi ibn Adam, that I am the master of the children of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam enumerates other things, that I am the first upon or from whom the earth will be opened up on the day of judgment. So the first to be resurrected is Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am the first who will be interceded with and whose intercession will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's intercession that takes place. Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in the hadith that I will have the banner of praise, liwa'ul hamd. And everybody from Adam alayhi salatu wassalam to the last person to come onto this earth will be underneath that banner. So 4 or 5 different things that are mentioned. First, Ana Sayyidu Wuldi Adam Yawm al-Qiyamah. I am the leader and the master of the children of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam on the day of judgment. So Izzuddin ibn Abdus Salam, he says, the reason why a person is granted this type of a lofty position, master, to be the leader of everybody else, is number one, there are personal traits that that person must hold in this earth that makes them different to others. And because of those personal traits, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward that person in a very different way in the day of judgment. So being the master of the children of Adam in the hereafter pertains to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's sublime nature and character in this world. That how the Prophet ﷺ was different to everybody else. And the Prophet ﷺ, what Izzuddin ibn Abdus Salam rahimahullah is referring to, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extols the Messenger ﷺ in another verse in Surah Al-Qalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. That what makes the Prophet ﷺ so different to anybody else is the noble characteristics that the Prophet ﷺ embodied and held. This word ala khuluqin azim, Sayyidina Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha, in a riwayat recorded by Imam Bukhari rahimahullah and amongst others, she was once asked that, Ya Rasulullah, oh mother, what were the characteristics of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So how can you explain the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because you were the closest to him. So Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, open the Quran. That if you want to find the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, فَخُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. The characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ was the Quran. And it's an extraordinary statement to of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, that she's saying that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted a human to behave like, that you will find embodied in the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's directive to humanity. How to behave, how not to behave. What to do, what not to do. How to do it and how not to do it. So Aisha radiallahu ta'ala is saying that if you want to understand the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, read the Holy Quran. And whatever directive you find in the Quran that Allah directs humans towards, you will find that the Prophet ﷺ embodied those characteristics completely, fully. So you won't find an occasion where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about how to behave, except that the Prophet ﷺ behaved like that. And so understanding the Quran is key to understanding the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ. And why is knowing the characteristics important for us? Because Allah is telling us through the Messenger ﷺ, what makes the Prophet ﷺ very different on the Day of Judgment is his characteristics. It's because of how he was. And that's why he's the master of the rest of humanity on the Day of Judgment. So, and this, what entails the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, they would require lessons on this on their own. The Prophet ﷺ had a unique understanding of the psychology of others, how to deal with them, based on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed in the Holy Quran. That very simple statements, when you just close your eyes and think about statements of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ made very profound, short statements related to adab and etiquette. That مَنْ لَمْ يَرْحَمْ صَغِيرَنَا وَلَمْ يُؤَقِّرْ كَبِيرَنَا فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا. It's encompassing that those who cannot show mercy towards our young and not give respect to our old, فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, they're not from us. And the Prophet, these are embodying characteristics where when you look at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, how did he deal with those that were younger? Immense love that the Prophet ﷺ showed. Once Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu was playing. The Prophet ﷺ was giving a sermon on the pulpit, and Hussein radiallahu ta'ala was very young, and he crawled up and he came and he sat on the lap of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ forgot, just let go of what he was saying. The sermon stopped, and he directed his complete attention to Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu. That if you think about it, someone who's on the minbar giving a sermon to people, it sort of pushed the child away, that not now, I'm busy. But no, completely different. And at the same time, once a Sahabi by the name of Abdurrahman ibn Sahal, he came to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam with two others who were more senior, and they had something that they needed to discuss with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he began to speak, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam immediately said, "Kabbir, kabbir." No, that's not right. There are people that are older than you; they need to speak before you. مَنْ لَمْ يَرْحَمْ صَغِيرَنَا وَلَمْ يُؤَكِّرْ كَبِيرَنَا. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was practically that the love was there for the youngsters, but at the same time, the adab and etiquette towards the elders was there as well. And so in all facets of the life, if you study the Quran, you will pick up the actual habits of the Prophet ﷺ. That's what Aisha radiallahu ta'ala is engaging us towards. That look at the Quran, study the Quran, understand the Quran, embody the Quran, and then you will have noble characteristics like the Prophet ﷺ. That many Sahaba, they say, and you hear this with the brothers that go out for Jamaat and Tabligh, they say that nowadays we're prone to give long lectures to convince people, and we have to sit and discuss with them 1 hour, 2 hours of maybe it affects somebody. The Sahaba Kiram Ridwanu Tajma'in and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam were very different. They didn't have to speak much. In fact, they just had to be themselves. And that was enough to convince someone to be like them because of the characteristics, because of how they treated others, how they embodied what Allah ultimately, how they embodied what Allah wanted us to behave like. And so this ana sayyidu wuldi Adam yawm al-qiyamah, that I will be the leader of the whole of Banu Adam on the day of judgment, comes down to characteristics. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took the Quran, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told him to behave, and in fact told us, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam embodied that instruction from beginning to the end completely in their life. And وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, one very important subtlety with this verse, that indeed you are a very noble character. Izzuddin ibn Abdul Salam later on in the book even mentions that imagine how sublime the character of the Prophet ﷺ was, that Allah, who is the greatest, is saying to Muhammad ﷺ that your character is sublime. Allah is praising the character of Muhammad ﷺ. Allah is telling us, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. He's actually praising the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ. And for the greatest to do that just shows how great the Messenger ﷺ was. So number one, أَنَا سَيِّدُ وُلْدِ آدَمَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. The first way that makes a distinction of the Messenger ﷺ from all others, on the day of judgment, the Prophet ﷺ will be the master of everybody. He will be the leader of everybody. What are some of the signs of his leadership? Inshallah, we'll carry on with that tomorrow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant me the understanding, all of you the understanding. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair.